Hey everyone, Kensuke here. This audio was originally lost, but I was able to find it by recovering the data. So, in doing so, there are some audio glitches that occur that I wasn't able to get rid of at the beginning, but luckily it is strictly only at the beginning. Also, this was recorded before we did our other specials, so it's slightly dated. So please bear with it and enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Kaiju X-Files podcast. This is Sean, aka Kensuke. And who do I have with me today?
That's not what I was expecting. It's a good surprise, but not what I was expecting. But it's complete what you're saying. This is Cadabra Chris from Cadabra Chris Online. I don't think that's real, but this is
Cadabra
Chris
Chris
from.
Online. Oh man. So anyways, welcome to Toku for Two. This is officially our quote unquote fourth episode. I mean, we've had a few
Yes.
specials in between. I think about three specials. By the time this releases, they haven't come out yet, but will actually no, they will have come out. My bad.
It
Uh,
should
so
be
you'll
out.
be
Yeah.
so you'll be listening to all this other wonderful stuff that isn't Ultra Q. Not to say Ultra Q is bad, but whew, these episodes this week, damn, dude, a
A little rough,
little
but
bit. So, did you want to get started into it, or did you want to talk about other stuff
well,
beforehand?
first of all, Sean, I would like to thank you for finally watching King Oger and
All right, so we're gonna
understanding
get into
how
that.
good it
Okay.
is. Yes.
All right. So first off, this show is called Royal Sentai King Oger. I mean, that's technically the English pronunciation for it. Um, but with this particular show, it's the ongoing Power Rangers that's currently airing in Japan right now, right?
Yeah. The current Sentai happening. It's the thing. It's the coolest. It's freaking awesome.
Christian's a fucking liar. No, he's not. It's actually really,
I
really good. Um,
was gonna say, don't you
it
dare.
it took him to get one of his old work buddies to send me a message saying, "Hey, you should watch this," and it's really cool. I'm like, oh, you know what? Fuck it, I'll do it. I'll watch it. And I finally did. And then I started texting his other friend. I'm like, yeah, man, this is really, really cool. Not a response back. I finally get to see him on stream. I'm like, hey, man, you should really watch this certain episode. He's like, oh, by the way, yeah, I never watched it. I'm like, you son of a biscuit eater.
It took Michael Durlack. Shout out Michael Durlack
MJ Durlack
for
on
having him
Twitch.
watch it.
Yeah.
MJ Durlack.
So
That's what we needed. That's all we needed.
if I hate you. But I love you. I mean,
You're welcome.
if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have my love for Toku, re-energized. So thank you, Christian, and thank you, Durlac,
And
for faking to me. I'm sure you're wonderful in bed.
yeah, man. Whatever you say. Um, and
So
then one other thing.
yeah,
Hold on. So I'm on this Facebook page, and it's a Beetleborgs page. And I think I've mentioned this to you before. Billy Forrester, the guy who played Flabber in
you
Beetleborgs,
mean Ghost Elvis?
Ghost Elvis,
All right,
um, or Elvis, or what's the other one? Jay Leno,
Jay Leno,
Elvis Leno,
dead Leno.
Dead Leno. He is currently trying to revive the series. I think I've told you this already. So he's trying to go through all the means right now through Hasbro and everything. And I think now he's finally trying to acquire the rights for Beetleborgs.
Okay, that'd be cool. Now,
So he's trying to
what does
do
he mean
his.
like rights? Just like to reissue the show, or what?
So he wants to start up his new show. It's going to be called. I'm trying to
Beetleborgs,
find
The
it.
New Awakening.
It's supposed to be called like Monster House, and it's supposed to be
Wait a minute,
like a
Monster
spin-off
House.
series.
Yeah, that spin-off series was supposed to happen a long time ago beforehand.
Yeah. So now he's trying to get that going, and I think it's supposed to be all the like just essentially a side story of all the monsters, everybody in the Hillhurst mansion,
So
I'm trying to
let
find
me
the
get this right.
page.
So he wants the rights to Beetleborgs to do the Monster House spin-off, which are technically Universal monsters, but not really.
Yeah,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I got that clarified.
yeah, pretty much. You're not wrong. You pretty much hit the nail on the head. I think he might have took down that post, but looks like he's really trying to go for it. I really hope Beetleborgs come back in some capacity now, even if it's just reissuing a DVD or a Blu-ray.
I
I'll
would
be all
love
right
to
with
have
that.
that happen because I know the DVD sales that Shout Factory put out, just from what I was listening to when watching a few other videos recently, that they did not sell well, which is surprising considering Beetleborgs, at least for me, was just amazing when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. That was like one of the first shows I remember that had like a radio segment. I'm pretty sure it was.
Did it have a radio segment?
So like they had a radio promo, and I remember hearing it at some store. I have to like really dig
What, you
into
mean like
try to
listening to like
remember it.
real radio and then all of a sudden, hey kids, Beetleborgs!
I, yes, just about just like that. But it was like Flabber, like no, I forgot what it was. I know it was Flabber talking, but God, I gotta really see if I can find it now.
All right, I am curious to see what that is. One of the things that I would like to have us eventually start doing, which we haven't yet, is to put some sort of like maybe links to things that we happen to talk about or anything in like the different show notes. I'll be working on that eventually as I try to learn how to do podcasting correctly. So,
Yeah,
obviously this is still an experiment. We're only on season 1. We're doing all right so far.
we're learning. We're doing good.
Yeah. So, before we finish trailing off from King Oger, tell me the plot of King Oger in like the simplest terms.
It's cool as hell. That's it. That's all you need to know. Just watch it.
All right. I guess I'm gonna take over the plot for that because you
No, I'll
failed
give
at
you.
your task.
So King Oger is about five different um, kingdoms, and one of the kingdoms is Shugadam, which is ruled by King Rackles. It it's been years now. There's like been a dormant. It's like an evil force that's finally coming out,
Hmm.
and all the all the um, all the kingdoms now need to unite. But it seems like King Rackles has his own agenda, and in comes Gira. Gira is somebody who just lives in like
He's a
not the
peasant boy.
slums, but he's like a peasant,
Yeah.
and he plays with all the kids in the in the area, and he's a tyrant king, and he's gonna take over the world with his band of friends or crew, whatever it is, until finally. Oh God, I don't remember. Fuck.
Wow. All
I
right.
forgot how we. I forget how comes
For
across
someone
the
who
royal
absolutely
arms.
loves this show and cannot remember a damn thing about it, shame on you.
Listen, where it's at now is all I need.
So basically, to put things in a different perspective here, Gira is this low-born peasant boy who suddenly decides that he wants to go and alert the king that his entire kingdom is being
That's what
attacked
it
by
is.
these bug empire people. And these are like legit demon bug people. It's really weird. And he goes to find the king, and the king's like, I'm gonna sit back and watch, and then after that, I'm gonna invade the other four kingdoms because I want them to bow to my will. Because that is true justice of the I'm
Yep,
sorry, Shugadam way.
exactly.
Um, and the way that he does that, Gira's like, no, I'm gonna steal your shit. And he does, and then he becomes the Red Ranger. And honestly, even though I'm playing that up just a little bit, it's really, really well done. The way
You have to
he
say it.
actually
You
becomes,
have to say how he's his real name, the real Red Ranger name.
Kuwagata Oja!
Oja. God, I love that.
Yeah, I love the way that it screams out all the different Ranger names.
And the
Papillon!
little jingle it
Oja!
plays. God, it's so much fun.
Yeah. Eventually, because this is still an ongoing show, it's episode 10 out of 49 that's been released so far. But it's
Yeah.
really one of the coolest shows that I've ever watched. And I think Christian and I are going to be watching this weekly for real. Like, no no hold barred on my end, or nothing barring me from it at this point. I'm gonna keep
No.
it.
Yeah, it's the first team to have its own first primary Purple Ranger.
It's true. I haven't seen purple in anything else before.
I'm sure. Oh God, I can't off the top of my head. I can't think of which one, but I know. Yeah, this is the first primary core team of five with their first purple. Rita is like my favorite,
Oh,
100% now.
that also brings up another thing. All these characters are very distinct and almost anime tropey a little bit, but because of that, it
Yeah,
makes everybody completely unique, and it's wonderful. Go and watch it. The best place to watch it is tokuzilla.net, and you'll just
yeah.
find it under King Oger. It's so cool. Definitely. It
Episodes
should
come
be
out.
on on the front page.
Yeah, it usually is. Episodes come out every Sunday. You might have to wait a little bit for the dub to drop, but
I
usually
Dubs won't
around
be
noon it
necessary for this.
drops.
As much as I love dubs, we don't need it. This is so good.
Or the sub. I'm sorry, jeez.
Oh, sub, excuse you. Um,
The sub.
so that's really all I've got to say about King Oger for now, because we will eventually do our review once this series has concluded. So I would like us to go into Ultra Q episodes 7 through 9. Now, Kaiju X Files, Christian. What do you know about episode 7? Like, do you remember the name of episode 7?
Yes, because it's probably the coolest, well, second coolest, till we bring that up, name for it. It's called SOS Mount Fuji.
Okay. Now, why does that sound familiar?
It's like Tokyo SOS.
That's exactly what I was thinking. And speaking of Tokyo SOS, that's a Godzilla movie, is it not?
Yeah, it is.
So, interesting about that, what Godzilla thing can you compare this to? Or what does it draw from?
So we'll start with the monster of the week. Monster of the episode, should we say, is just a big rock. I don't really
It,
know how to describe it,
It's literally
but
a
it's
giant rock that forms itself into a kaiju. And honestly, the first moments that we actually see this particular thing, I thought it, and this is for, Zelda people who actually played Breath of the Wild and whatnot, it looked like it was going to form a giant rock golem or a talus. It was kind of cool
yeah.
when it was starting to form itself.
It reminded me of the trailer for King of the Monsters, Godzilla King of the Monsters, where the mountain is moving and then the eye pops up. It does that same thing. Really cool. But the only distinction it draws from Godzilla is just the roar. It has the same exact roar as Godzilla.
Legit the same roar. I
Yeah.
was I
It's
was completely thrown off guard from that.
like I woke up, or not woke up, but I just sat up and I was like, that's very familiar.
You didn't just go like, wait a minute, that's Godzilla. Did they get the rights to use the Godzilla roar?
I mean, it's Toei or Toho.
Well, that's two separate companies though, because it's Subaraya and Toho.
I'm sure they gave them the rights for it, for
Hmm,
them to work so closely together, especially reusing a Godzilla suit in episode one.
that's true with Gomez. May he rest
Yeah.
in
May he
derpy
go
peace.
rest in peace. I don't know.
This particular episode, man, I don't really know if I could really explain the plot for this one very well. It's all over the place. There's this random guy named TK. I'm sorry, Takaru. Those are my
Tucker.
Digimon days. I'm gonna call him TK, and he's basically like a Tarzan wannabe who's been in the jungle since, if I'm not mistaken, since he was a kid.
Since he
And
was 4 years old, he was lost. He got lost in the jungle.
okay, and for whatever reason, he's just running around. There's no real explanation why, and everybody just happens to know that his name is Takaru. It's like, okay, well, where do we go
Well,
from
yeah,
there?
his
Yeah, but
sister
she's
was
just
it.
this random school teacher who said, I think I heard of him, but it might not be him.
Well, it was the story of the caveman, but like she also had a missing brother who just happened to be the caveman or the Tarzan.
Right. God, this episode was really weird. Um, so if I'm not mistaken, the whole thing actually legit starts out with them saying, "Hey, Mount Fuji has a possibility of erupting soon. We should go investigate it." And they do, and then
It goes nowhere.
yeah, like the funny thing is the volcano aspect doesn't really have any effect here until the next episode, which we'll get into in just a little
Yeah,
bit. But yeah, man, like they started shooting at, or the random cop that's in the show just randomly shoots this giant rock creature, which I'm looking up its name now, and it's called Gorgos.
Gorgos.
And he shoots it once and it bounces off. And I'm like, well, why did you even think that was going to work in the first place? But then random Tarzan wannabe shows up, steals his gun, jumps on the back of this thing, and it's like, hey, I'm gonna shoot it in this giant puffy layer that's somewhere. I guess it was
Oh
embedded
yeah,
in the
it's
neck.
like it's marshmallow like siding or whatever the hell
It
it
legit looked like
was.
Oreo cookie, with marshmallow billowing.
Yeah,
So he
I
shoots
didn't
it.
understand it.
Yeah, I was paying close attention to it too. It's like I don't get what's happening. So he shoots it and then it just like rolls around on the floor and gets up on its hind legs, and it's like, okay, first it looked kind of cool when it was actually on all fours, but the moment that it stands
Yeah,
up, I'm like, no, don't do that. You can legit
it
tell that it's somebody in a suit at that point. Don't do that.
yeah it was very like weird looking, and I just didn't like the design. Was very like simple. It was really simple.
And I would have been okay with it being simple if the guy hadn't randomly decided to stand up. If he had just been on
Yeah.
all fours the entire time, like that fucking turtle from that episode that you hate,
Oh
if he had
God,
done
yeah.
that and like just managed to stay like as feral and as vicious as he was, instead of standing up on his legs trying to do a wrestling move by launching onto his back,
Oh my God, yeah, that's right.
it was so weird. But yeah, then like it just suddenly dies. TK ends up blowing a hole in it, pulls out this giant puff ball. I'm assuming it was its heart or its brain or maybe like some sort of eyeball that it had. I don't really know. But it pulls it out and then he shoots it in the air.
Oh yeah, and it like explodes in the air, some shit. Like I don't. That was just weird.
Like I'm looking up the wiki right now and it says climbing on the creature's back. He is successful in destroying the mysterious glowing orb which functions as the monster's heart. Like, okay, that was weird.
Yeah, I didn't really care for that episode
it
a whole lot.
but
It had its cool moments, but
at least it was the most interesting episode. You can't deny that.
I don't know. Wait till we talk about the next
Bitch, I
episode.
don't want you to deny that. All right, that's all I've got for that first episode. Let's go on to the next one. Do you remember the name of that one?
So episode 2 was called. I like this. This was like the coolest name for it. I think Terror of the Sweet Honey.
I promise
I don't
you,
know
it is
why
not a
it
porn
sounds so
episode.
cool. It's not. It's not a cutie honey
It's not Cutie
porn
Honey,
episode.
Cutie Honey Pop.
You never heard of Cutie Honey?
Oh, I've heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh wait, am I thinking of the one made by the guy who did Devilman? Well, not
I bel
now. I gotta
This
look it up.
is a. I think it's a Hideaki Anno movie.
Oh my god, it's by the guy who made Devilman. I forgot. I actually own a live action version of this show. Go Nagai. Yep.
Yeah, go.
Anyways,
Never mind.
if anybody is interested in the anime portion of this podcast, please go watch Devilman Crybaby or Devilman or Getter Robo, or in this case, also watch Cutie Honey. Brought to you by Go
Cutie Honey's
Nagai
good.
and not Crunchyroll.
I was gonna say, what's with what are you doing these like commentator
I am trying
voices?
to spice this up. But anyways, go
I
on.
love it. But this episode starts off really cool. It's just there is a beehive, like an apiary, and somebody breaks into it,
hmm
and that's all we know of for the beginning
Okay,
until you
first,
find out.
when you see this, what was your initial thought seeing this guy just walk out and seeing some random dude? I know he's breaking in and doing what he's doing in this episode, but to me, it looked like he was straight up dancing.
Yeah, it looked a little funny the way he came out.
It looked like he was doing the Fortnite dancing, like shuffling left and right, moving his hands around and shit. That's what it looked like to me.
It did look a little goofy.
Yeah, but go on.
But anyways, come to find out, the people who own the apiary find out that the king or the queen bee is missing or was eaten. But these aren't regular bees. These are like some genetically modified bees that have some weird kind of really sweet honey to it. That's called honey zelion.
Hmm.
It's got a special protein that's in it. That's what it is. Come to find out, we end up finding out who broke into it, but they left a mole rat
So I'm gonna
to
put you on
go in
pause here
there.
just for a second. When I was watching it on my Blu-rays, they actually call it Honey Jelly On, which I think is interesting because Godzilla is technically called Gojira, correct?
Yeah,
So Honey Jelly On to Zelion. All right, I just wanted to make sure because that was interesting to me.
I don't really see that connection, Sean. I'm sorry.
J to Z, dude.
I guess I don't know.
Like Godzilla, Godzilla, Jellion, Zillion. Fuck you.
It's a reach.
I don't
It's
think
a reach,
so.
Sean.
Go on,
Anyways,
bitch.
so the monster of this episode is one big mole,
And it's not
and
a
it
naked
is
mole rat or anything. It's a giant, legit mole. It literally was
so
making
it's a
mountains out of molehills.
it was, and this is something that was a simple design but looked cool as hell, especially surrounded by all the miniatures. Everything that whole episode was cool. That whole ending with the fight with all the tanks and everything. It's the best one I've seen so far.
I'm going to disagree about that, about the suit at least. Everything else regarding this episode, like the production quality, I did note that there was nothing but miniatures in the entire episode, especially from the very beginning, when it starts off with two guys are in a plane, and he just shouts out "left turn," and the other guy just repeats him "left turn." Um,
Yeah, he
it was
does.
so weird. So when he does that, they're looking down at the floor and they see this train going along, and then you could tell it's definitely just like an actual like toy train track, kind of like what we saw in Ant-Man, which I just kept thinking about Ant-Man that entire time. But when you see it like break apart, you could see that there's something like going underneath, like it's like underneath a table that's pushing up against it, causing that breakage in the scenery. And then when you get to the
I like
episode
it.
later, or not the episode later on, but later on in the episode, you actually see like all the different tanks, cars, trucks, everything else. They are legit toy miniatures along with everything else. And even though it has some weird cuts when they're launching missiles randomly, it just everything about the production design is really really cool looking. It's very simple, but it's I guess the other way that I could describe it is if anybody's ever watched Beetlejuice, the original movie, there's that part where you actually see all of his miniature, like the miniature town and everything like that. It
Yeah.
looked almost exactly like that.
Yeah, it did. But like I said, I like miniatures like that. So
Now,
that really like made me happy to see.
about the suit, again, this is another one where if the creature is on all fours, it looks pretty cool and menacing. But the moment he stood up, I'm like, I can see the outline of a person.
Oh yeah, you well when you see it in some aerial shots, you could tell that it's somebody just on all fours.
Yeah,
But when it's like halfway out of the earth, it looks really cool.
yeah, I'll give you
The
that.
small white eyes on it. It's got a big head with small white eyes, and I think that was like the weirdest, creepiest looking design.
Yeah, that was pretty creepy. Not as creepy as the thing in the next episode, but yeah, I'll give you that. Did without looking it up, do you know the name of this creature?
I think it was just I don't remember. I think it was just something like mole or giant mole.
Giant mole. No, sir.
Mogula. It was like Mogula, something like
God
that.
damn it, you looked it up, didn't you?
No, I remember it. It's like
It's Mongula.
Mongula something. There you
Mongula.
go.
Yeah. So, oh, and that brings me to the ending of the episode. So they end up saying that they can't really find a way to beat it because the moment that they start terrorizing it, it's going to burrow underground. So what does it do? It burrows so far underground and into a different direction that it ends up going into the volcanic layer from the previous episode and just
Yeah,
disintegrates itself.
it stimulates volcanic activity and then just blows up.
Yep. It's it just dies off screen. You don't really see anything. It's like,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, the thing that really this is why I didn't like this episode, cuz there was the B plot, quote unquote, because there were
Oh
actual
yeah.
bees in it. Um, but the actual B plot involving the scientist who is jealous of the life his coworker had, where he was actually
Yep.
a renowned scientist who was about ready to get published even further and was about to marry some woman that he was also in love with, but that never gets explained because you might as well shoehorn something in.
You
Um,
have to.
yeah. So he decides that he's going to try to make everything better for everyone because he's the one who ended up stealing, or not stealing, he's the one who ended up putting the mole in this particular setting in the first place, causing it to expand like it did. So he wants to right
Yeah.
his wrongs, goes into a cave, starts
I know exactly what
monologuing
you're
in
gonna
the
say.
cave to everybody who finds him, says why he did what he did, and then said, I'm going to blow up this cave because then it will kill the creature. And he blows it
And he
up.
comes out
And he,
unscathed.
well, he has a little bit of dirt on him, straight up dies after confessing his love, and the monster is still alive. It's like, you literally did that for no
Yeah.
reason.
I mean, he was still alive, so like, nothing ever came out of it. But I was just like, he was right in front of the TNT tank and just freaking blows himself up.
He should have been like, he. One of my biggest gripes with anything involving anime or Japanese media in general is when they decide to start giving speeches like on their death throes. Like, just stop. Get some help. Or don't. Just
So
die. Just straight up die, please.
yeah, it was a little odd. Just kind of he like survives it just so like regular. Like it was just something he's done every day. Just
Hmm.
like yeah, blow shit up right in front of it. Um, but between the three episodes, I think this one was my favorite.
Now, before we move on to the next episode, I'm looking up trivia here. It says during the climactic final scenes, the stock footage of Toho's 1956's Rodan film was used. As the ending narration begins, a scene where Rodan can be seen flapping its wings in vain to escape the lava can be seen. Did you
I
notice
didn't even
that?
think about that. No,
I didn't either. That was pretty
that's really
shocking.
cool.
And then I scrolled down and somebody posted a picture of the mole, and I'm like, I'm done. All right, and now this last episode here. This one's called
I'll let you
Baron
take this one
Spider.
away.
Yeah, I liked I liked the theming of this one. So this one's called Baron Spider, and honestly, the idea behind it is basically like arachnophobia in black and white with giant spiders or eight-legged freaks with
Yeah, I
just
thought Eight-Legged Freaks or
yeah.
yeah, Eight-Legged Freaks. I'm thinking of Evolution. Never mind, wrong movie.
And evolution. Wow, that's a callback. Um, the way that they do this episode, how they started off, is two guys in a lighthouse. They're just watching stuff, and this guy starts walking around, and all of a sudden he's attacked by this giant spider. Now, the spider design is legit terrifying. If I
Yeah, it
had
is pretty
seen that
scary the way it's done.
exactly, oh my goodness, if I had seen this when it originally came out, I probably would not watch the show from here on because that's legit terrifying. It's one of the most realistic looking spiders until they start doing stuff later on, but it's scary. Um, God, how do they continue from there? So they do that. They do the title music. From there, they
Then it's
go into this
like,
car ride where it's everybody making fun of this one dude named Hayama. I'm like, wow, Hayama, get fucked. They called you
oh, I
boring.
know. Yeah, screw Hayama.
It was sad. So they finally end up in this one direction because you know, British bands are cool, I guess. British boy bands. We're gonna cut that, cut
Yeah,
that, cut
sure.
that.
No, let's leave it in, Sean. Let's
Ah,
let everybody hear that.
dick. So they end up stopping because they hear screaming at some point, right?
Yeah, and then God, I don't remember. Like one of them gets sick, and
Oh
then
no
they
no no!
have to
They
go to
they
like a
they
mansion.
find them in this swamp. They end up in Shrek swamp for some reason, and they end up pulling them out. One of them ends up developing a fever, and they like try to
Yeah,
find the nearest point of refuge, and that's this giant mansion. They get in there and they're like, "Hey, let's start a fire. Hey, the lights are still on. That's weird. Who's paying the bills for that?"
yeah. It's just like, hey, we're just gonna go into this house. Hey, we need shelter, so we're not gonna ask. We're just gonna go in. I think at one point one of the girls does say, hey, we're gonna borrow your fire or your fireplace, and like nobody responds.
Yeah, it was so weird. So they're in there, they're trying to like go around, they're trying to see if they can find some medicine to help this guy who has a fever, who plays a very convincing person who's dying of a fever. Ugh, ugh,
Yeah,
ah,
he's
ugh.
just yeah screaming.
It was so weird. And then this is what pissed me off the most in the episode. For those who don't know, and I'm sorry for certain friends of ours who are really into this series, you can hate me for all I care at this point on this. I do not like The Legend of Zelda. I absolutely
Oh
despise
god,
that series. There's a
and
few
open up a
games in
can of
that
worms.
yeah, there's a few games in that series that are standout, that are top notch, that are actually really good, but the series as a whole can bite me.
Well,
Much like the spider bites.
mind you, Sean spent like 4 months playing like every Zelda game in a row.
I did because I own them and I've learned my lesson. But anyways, they decide to show and play an ocarina.
Yeah, I like that part.
Of course you did. The moment that happened, I said this episode's gonna suck. Not because of anything else that didn't happen in this episode. No, because of the goddamn fucking ocarina. I don't even care if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. I hate it so much.
Ocarina,
It might be ocarina. I
just
don't know.
PTSD of an ocarina is all.
Pretty much. I hated that. And then he starts playing it. Ipe, the guy who's like the one who's in love with Yuri-chan, and
Yeah,
he's just playing it and playing the most creepy music you would ever hear from the ocarina. It's like, nah, just
yeah, it is pretty unsettling. It's just like, yeah, let me play some really creepy sounding music the
eh,
whole time while we're in this creepy
creepy crawly
mansion here.
house.
Yeah,
And he's playing it, and they're like, dude, shut up. Don't play that anymore. And he stops, and then it still plays anyway. I'm like, this is why we can't have. I want to say nice things, but no, it's
and
not
have
even a nice thing. We
no, it's just weird.
yeah. So then this other guy's like, hey, I'm gonna get more wine because this fugue stated, you know, fever fuck is trying to ruin all the wine I gave him, which I don't know why I was gonna give him wine in the first place, but he did
Yeah, I don't know
anyway.
why he's got a fever. Let's give him wine. Let's make him alcoholic.
And the dude is like
Sure.
legit screaming for water the entire time, like water,
Yeah,
ah, water.
this poor guy.
And she goes like, "Guess what? I'm gonna go get wine." So he goes to go get wine, and this is Hayama, by the way. This is the guy who they were making fun of anyway. It's like, you know what? They say
Yeah,
get fucked. You know what? Get fucked for real.
get fucked.
And this spider comes down, and it just starts attacking him, like brutally attacking him,
Just
and it's
obliterates this
so
guy.
so visceral. Like there's no blood. There's none of that. It like starts spraying its webbing against it, and that is the grossest thing I've ever seen in black and white.
Yeah,
Where it's just like opening its mouth left and right, and it's spraying out all this like it almost looks like it's spraying out hair, but it just turns into this refined webbing, and
it's
it's
like a
just so gross.
it's like Mothra silk. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, and not only does it do it to him, this other woman who's in the episode with them, her name's Kyoko. She ends up going searching for something. I don't remember what. And as she does, she's also attacked by a giant tarantula. And it's like, why? and she ends up getting webbed, and they end up finding her. But then, everybody leaves the fever guy alone in the room as he's like screaming for water. All of a sudden, now this giant spider's like, dinner, poisonous dinner. And it comes
Ugh.
down, and it starts trying to attack him. Everybody runs in, and Hayama finds a knife, and it's the loudest stabbing sound I've ever heard.
Yeah, for some reason, sound design was weird. Like it just didn't make sense.
No, it was interesting, but it didn't make sense. It's like all of a sudden, ha ha, spider rises up as if it's like on some sort of pulley, and as it does, he
Yeah,
throws the knife right at it and goes chunk,
such a loud noise. Yeah,
and then it dies. Like that
that's it. Yeah,
that spider dies. It's like okay.
very anticlimactic.
And then the other one just randomly shows up, and they're suddenly talking about how, what if it's this woman who was the Baron Spider's daughter who died in the swamp because Shrek ended up wanting to, turn her into an ogre. Instead, she turned into I'm making that part up, but yeah,
Yeah,
they just
there was a daughter who got bit by like a tarantula. That was like the lore,
yeah,
and that she ran into like the swamp or whatever, and then they
and that
couldn't
she
find
ended
her
up
after that.
becoming the spider and then ended up living with
Yeah,
him. Um, for some reason, it just doesn't die, and they all run away from it slowly. And it still manages to like just catch up ever so slightly and always in the frame. And when they finally get in their cars, it takes forever for them to actually try to run away. And the spider is like attacking the glass panel on the front, the glass window of their car. And they back up and they run it over. And I swear, as they run it over, it starts laughing.
it's so weird. Yeah.
It's like like when our friend Ryan, whenever he like does these like random laughing fits, and he does it in such a way
Oh
that it's
yeah.
really creepy. That's what it sounded like. Like like that.
Exactly. Yeah. I didn't
And
think about that. Man, that is weird.
it just like the show ends, and it's so weird. I'm looking at the kaiju name. It's just straight up tarantula.
It's a tarantula. Yeah, there's nothing special about it. It's
No,
weird.
not at all. I will say it was just one of these most legit terrifying designs, and that was the entertaining aspect to it. If you had to
Yes.
rate these particular episodes like in a certain order, this one would be my second favorite out of the three that we did. Mole Man being -1, and whatchamacallit, Ride On being number one.
I don't know. Right on was weird. I like the Mole Man. I think Mole Man would be one, Tarantula two, and then Right on one.
I'm glad that you stuck with the Ride On.
I mean, that's exactly what it was. It looked like Right on.
It really did.
Looked like looked like a really. It looked like the beta version of Ride on. Like if you were to look that up, that's exactly how it looked like.
Yeah. Now, one other thing I want to go over on this particular episode. So, do you remember that woman Kyoko? Um,
Yeah.
the only other woman in the episode besides Yuri.
Yeah.
She has actually been in monster movies for quite a while. Looking her
Really.
up, her name is Akiko Wakabayashi. She is currently 83 years old, and this is actually pretty cool. She's best known in English-speaking countries for her role as Bond girl Aki in the 1967 film You Only Live Twice.
I I'm not gonna lie. I haven't really seen any of the Bond films, or at
Me
least I've seen a
neither, except
select
for a
few.
few.
But
Yeah, but
that means nothing to me.
I know. But at least it's cool that she had Bond girl status. Um,
Oh
other
yeah.
other things on here it says that she's also especially known for Toho monster films such as Dagora the Space Monster and Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. She's also in King Kong versus Godzilla. That's everything else. But it says at the very end here, it says she retired from acting owing to injuries sustained while making a film.
Damn.
That's
She went
that's
hard.
wild. She really did. I mean, the fact that she just did so much. I'm looking at all these other things on here. She's been in a lot of different monster things. I don't know if you've ever heard of something called Jose SOS.
No.
Okay, well, I haven't either, but I just wanted to say that. Because we already had
Choosers.
SOS in this episode, we might as well say that. But yeah, she's been doing a lot of different things on here. If you ever want to look her up, if anybody decides to watch these episodes, remember Akiko Wakabayashi. Um, that's really all that I've had regarding these episodes. There was no particular theme except for maybe horror for the last one, but anything
Yeah,
else,
last one
there
was
like
definitely
wasn't
really
any
good.
special messages either.
Yeah, don't. Apparently, moles eat bees, so don't give a mole a bee, please. You'll
Mullaby,
save everybody.
dude.
Give save everybody the headache.
Can you think of like an actual like monster where it's a cross between a mole and a bee?
That flies and burrows underground.
I mean, just think of it
Called
as a
hell.
monster on its own. Don't think about its abilities.
That'd be pretty creepy, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that would. Bees are already creepy on their own.
The only other thing that comes to mind regarding that is Metabee from that animated show. Um, Metabots. That's the only thing I
Metabots.
got.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, but this show, it's not bad. I'm still enjoying it. It does have its ups and downs. In recently we've had more downs, but I think within the 18, no, 19 episodes that we have left, it's it's gonna be consistent with about it being about maybe 50-50. Do you think?
Yeah, it like the last two I didn't care. Like the ones that we watched before. These three were pretty good. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with the next three.
Yeah, but even so, still enjoyable. We hadn't done Ultra Q in such a long time, so I had to be in the right mindset to do it. But I'm glad that we got back to it.
Yeah, I kind of had to like force myself to watch these episodes last night and then this one this morning, and I was just like, ah.
As long
But
as we stay
yeah, I
consistent,
need to
it
push
shouldn't be
through
too
it.
bad.
Yeah,
But I do think that we have a couple specials coming up.
we do. We have May 31st. Everybody, make sure you get your tickets for Shin Kamen Rider.
Shit, Common
Um,
Rider.
shit ass Kamen Rider. Speaking of which, when I went to go see Guardians 3, there was a small little promo for it.
Really? I didn't get one.
Yeah, it was so weird because I just didn't expect to see that kind of like advertisement for a movie like that, but it
Hmm.
was there and it looked cool as hell.
And I've only seen that one trailer, and it just looks really, really good. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I seen the one trailer and then just the that little clip that they put out, like that 2 minute clip.
Hmm.
Man, I'm excited for that movie.
So we also have one other special coming up soon. As soon as Christian here decides to finish watching the show. Pause for
Wait, no,
effect.
what? Wait, what show?
Power Rangers in
Pause.
space, dude.
Oh my god, yeah. I was like, damn. I do have like 6 episodes, maybe. I will watch this tonight.
I can't
I
believe
will
I
finish
finished
that.
that show before you.
You did, yeah. You like ran through it, and I like took my time with it. You
I
like
mean,
finished Turbo before I did too.
to be fair though, I was finishing Turbo out of spite. We all know that.
Yeah, we'll get to that episode when we get there.
But
But
in space, I'm just a one word review. One word review. It's good.
it's incredible. It's the best Zordon era series, honestly, in my opinion. MMPR is cool. Don't get me wrong. MMPR is a little overrated, I think, at
Hold the
times.
phone. You're gonna say MMPR is overrated? Bitch, I want to hear you say that again when we actually do that
Okay,
episode.
I will. Like MMPR is so like I love it. It's got always gonna have a special place in my heart. But it's like people that are into Pokemon. This is the equivalent to Charizard.
I hope you. I'm
It
gonna get
gets
to the
too
point where
much
we finally
love,
post
and
this episode. I'm gonna timestamp that just so I can send that to Ryan.
I love MMPR, Ryan. I'm sorry, but it's like it gets so much love, but
Oh, it wasn't even
nobody else
MPR. It
gets
was
any
about the
more.
Charizard thing.
Charizard's overrated. Yes, Andrew could back me up on it.
uh, I I don't. Whatever.
Just whatever.
So eventually we will get to Power Rangers in Space when he finally decides to finish that. I should I start nagging at you about that, kind of like how you nagged at me about
Bro, the difference is I'm gonna finish it in like one night. I'm not gonna take 2 months to watch it.
Okay, first off, it took me what, a week to watch all of In Space?
No, I'm talking about King Oger.
Okay, well, yeah, but shut up.
Exactly.
But that is all that we have time for today. Originally, I thought this was going to be one of our shorter episodes. Somehow, we managed to extend it to be one of our longest. That this is not a trend that will continue.
Unless you guys like long episodes, I don't know. We'll
I mean,
see.
if you do, cool, because if you like listening to the sultry sounds of my impersonation voices, because my name is Cleveland Brown, and I
I knew
am
that's where
proud
you were
to
going with
be.
it. God, I
uh,
did not expect any less.
you shouldn't. Anyways, this is Sean, aka Kensuketi.
This is Chris, aka Cadaver Chris from cadaverchris.com online.
Be sure to follow us both on Facebook, Instagram, and our YouTube page at Toku for Two.
And everybody have a good night.
Take
Rewind this podcast for the next viewer or let next listener. Have a good day.
rewind, be kind, and rewind.
There you go. Deuces.